So in construction, you're 6 times more likely to die by suicide than all other workplace fatalities combined. So falling from heights, electrocution, struck by a confined space, add all those together, 6 times more people die by suicide. It's 4 times the national average when compared to other industries. I found a recent study from 2025, the Chartered Institute of Building. It reported that 94% of construction workers experienced stress in the past year, 83% experienced anxiety, 60% experienced depression. What's most alarming about that report, I found over a quarter, so 26% of people surveyed, reported having suicidal thoughts in the past year. Stigma has been traditionally a big barrier into seeking help or expressing vulnerability. Another study showed 45% of construction workers say they're ashamed to talk about mental health issues at work, and 35% were discriminated against for speaking up about these issues. We talked before we started filming about substance misuse, which is a huge issue in construction. So on that, the recent study showed construction workers are 7 times more likely to die of an opioid overdose than workers in other industries. Construction workers represent about a quarter of all opioid overdoses among workers. And in 2022, over 17 times as many construction workers died from overdoses than job site fatalities. That was a lot of information. So maybe we'll give it a second to sink in. But, as you're hearing these and going through them, I know you're familiar with a lot of that. Like, what comes to mind when you hear these things?
It's a disaster. It can't, I don't know how else to describe it. And I have to say, I went through most of my career, and I've been in the business about more than 4 decades, without being aware of those statistics. I remember back when I was in Calgary, we had a big downtown job site called Bankers Hall, and the police came visit one day, and they said, there's a lot of drug use going on our job site. They wanted our help. And I was stunned to hear that. And but even then, I had no idea of the numbers that you just quoted there, really, until the last, I'm going to say less than 10 years, the last 25% of my career. And so you hear it and you go, well, I don't understand it. I didn't see it. Frankly, I didn't feel it. Although we've all had struggles with our mental health, with our emotions, with depression, I certainly have. But you think that's an internal struggle. You don't think that anybody else is struggling. So then when you hear that they're not just struggling, they're suicidal and they're using drugs and the incidence of injury, whether self-inflicted or otherwise, is so much greater. You go, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Because the problem, you just stated it, it's huge. And as everybody knows, I think, COVID made it that much worse. The only benefit, I'm going to say this carefully, when I've said anyone, of the COVID impact was that we also became more aware. And we started to take more action and invest more money, resources about battling it. So I guess that's the only good thing to come out of it, because it's a fight every day, and it takes resources, it takes time, and it takes compassion, it takes all those things. But the numbers are staggering.
That was the biggest eye-opener for me when I got into this stuff. And I remember a staff from KMH, actually, not specific to construction, but I think they said in Canada, by the time you're 40, 50% of the population will have experienced some form of mental illness. So there's no way you can escape this, whether it's yourself or your spouse or your best friend.
No way.
And
your kids.
I agree with you 100%. It's largely we're in an awareness phase, which is good, because that's the first step to solving a problem, is admitting that there is one. But we still have a lot of work to do. And one quote I come back to when the topic comes up is, where there's great challenge, there's great opportunity.